Welcome back. Well, there's been some reports in the Business Day over the last couple of days that the National Water Affairs Department is considering withholding the money it pays municipalities because they've not been paying the money they owe to water boards. At the moment, councils owe water boards around 16 billion rand. Now, government is suggesting it could withhold what's called the national equitable share it pays to councils. Kim Walsh is the managing director of the public consultancy firm PDG. She joins us now, public sector consultancy firm, I should say. Kim, good afternoon to you. Can national government actually do this? Does it have the legal power to withhold this money?
Yes, hi, good day. So firstly, I'm not a legal expert, but I think it's a bit of a grey area. If we talk about what the equitable share is, it's an unconditional grant that's made to municipalities. It's guaranteed in the Constitution, which says that local government is entitled to an equitable share of the revenue raised nationally. There certainly is a clause in the Constitution also that allows National Treasury to withhold transfers to municipalities if they don't meet certain conditions. But those conditions really relate to meeting norms and standards and how they report expenditures. So I'm sure there is a legal mechanism by which they could suspend these transfers, but I think it would also be open to constitutional challenge, and it would really be a very harsh measure.
It would be. I mean, councils just wouldn't be able to manage, right? They wouldn't be able to pay salaries or provide services.
That's right. So if we talk about what the equitable share is, it's about 87 billion rand a year currently transferred to municipalities, targeted at poor households, and they can use it however they see fit, but it's meant to provide services for poor people. And if we look at the reliance that municipalities have on it, we're talking about water boards here. So if we look at Amatola Water Board, for example, which serves Amatola DM, district municipality, that district municipality, 59% of their revenue comes from the equitable share. So if you hold the equitable share to Amatola DM, they won't be able to function at all. They won't be able to pay salaries. They won't be able to provide any services whatsoever.
How did the bill that councils owe water boards get so high? 16 billion rand. I realize we're not talking Eskom money here. That's much higher. But still, I mean, it seems to me to be the same thing. The municipalities charge you to use water. They buy the water from the water board. The money that they charge you should go to the water board.
It is much the same thing, and it's much the same thing as what's going on with Eskom. And where it falls apart, Stephen, is, yes, the municipalities charge customers for water. The question is, though, whether customers are actually paying the municipalities and whether the municipalities are actually collecting that revenue. So the water board sits a little bit along a chain. The municipalities charge the customers, the municipalities collect money from the customers, and then the municipalities pay the water boards and Eskom. What's happening at the moment is municipalities are not collecting, and collection rates are really low, which means they don't have the money to pay over to the water boards. So it's partly a function of whether people are able to pay the municipalities, whether they can afford it, but also whether municipalities are applying sufficient effort in actually collecting the funds that are owed to them.
Eskom tried to go through a phase of refusing to provide electricity to councils that didn't pay. And the courts, in the end, sort of stopped them. Businesses and residents went to court. I presume the same principle would apply if a water board said, well, we're not going to give any money, we're not going to give any more water to a council that doesn't pay. The Eskom precedent would sort of come into effect.
Yes, and I think it would come into effect even more strongly with water boards because, there's a really strong argument that water is a human right. And if you cut off people's water, they very quickly can't continue in terms of health and survival. Electricity, we can manage without electricity. We can all survive on candles. We all have been. But elsewhere where there have been other cases of municipalities, for example, trying to cut off water, it faces very, very strong resistance.
If you look at the amount of money involved here, so we've got 16 billion rand from councils to water boards. We've got another, let's call it 60 billion rand, I'm being conservative, owed to Eskom by councils. I mean, the whole system, it seems to me, is beginning to just fall over because of the failure of many, perhaps most, of the councils around the country. At some point, something is going to just fall over because the money circle has stopped flowing.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think if we look at the number of municipalities that are now classified as being in financial crisis, It's an extraordinarily high proportion. I don't have the figure to hand right now. And we are facing a point of collapse. And I think a lot of it starts with this flow of money. It starts with the revenues. Municipalities aren't collecting the revenues that is due to them. That means they don't have the money to spend on providing services adequately, which means that service levels are starting to decline. We're starting to see service failure. And that's a vicious downward cycle, because then when infrastructure starts to fail, when service levels start to go down, people are more resistant to paying. So we're currently in the municipal space, I think, stuck in quite a dangerous downward spiral.
Kim Walsh, thank you, Managing Director of the public sector consulting firm PDG. Really do appreciate the time.